they called humanity the silent species across 17 star systems. While other civilizations built grand monuments to their technological prowess and declared their dominance through conquest, humans seemed content to blend into the background of galactic society. They attended interspecies academies without fanfare, worked mundane jobs in space stations, and rarely spoke up in galactic council meetings. What the galaxy didn't know was that while human children sat quietly in the back of alien classrooms, they were simultaneously orchestrating the largest underground information network the universe had ever seen. Behind usernames and encrypted channels, these unremarkable teenagers were about to prove that sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't a plasma cannon or a quantum bomb, it's a 17-year-old human with a computer, unlimited curiosity, and absolutely nothing to lose. Maya Chan was one of those humans. And she was about to change everything. Maya Chen pressed her back against the cool metal wall of the corridor, watching as the Zephyrian students glided past on their anti-gravity platforms. Their crystalline skin caught the artificial light of the Nexus Academy's ceiling panels, casting prismatic rainbows across the polished floor. She counted 7 of them, all moving in perfect synchronization toward the advanced quantum mathematics classroom where she was supposed to be heading. She waited until their melodic chittering voices faded before stepping out from the alcove. At 17 standard years, Maya was one of only 12 humans enrolled at the most prestigious interspecies academy in the Andromeda Spiral. The others seemed to handle the attention better than she did. Marcus Thompson, for instance, had somehow become captain of the zero-gravity racing team despite being the only student who needed an oxygen mask during practice. Sarah Kim regularly debated philosophy with the ancient Arcanite professors, her passionate arguments echoing through halls that had witnessed 1,000 years of scholarly discourse. Maya, however, preferred the shadows. She kept her head down, completed her assignments with satisfactory but unremarkable grades, and spoke only when directly addressed by instructors. To her classmates, she was forgettable, just another human trying to keep up in a galaxy where her species was still considered the new arrivals. What they didn't see was Maya's other life. The one that existed in the vast network of quantum encrypted channels that connected every inhabited world in known space. The moment Maya reached her dormitory pod, she sealed the entrance and activated the privacy shields. Her roommate, a gentle luminarian named Kes who communicated through bioluminescent patterns across her translucent skin, was attending a cultural exchange ceremony that would last until the next sleep cycle. Maya had the space to herself. She pulled out what appeared to be a standard educational tablet, but, after entering a complex sequence of commands, the device transformed. The screen expanded, projecting holographic interfaces that filled the small room with cascading data streams. Maya's fingers danced across haptic keyboards that materialized in the air around her, her movements practiced and fluid. "Phoenix Online," she whispered to her throat-mounted communicator. The words were automatically translated into 100 different languages and transmitted across secure channels to recipients scattered throughout the galaxy. Responses flooded in immediately. Text in Zephyrian script scrolled past. Mathematical equations in Arcanite notation blinked in and out of existence. Audio clips in languages that required multiple vocal cords to properly pronounce played through her earpiece. To an outside observer, it would have looked like chaos. To Maya, it was home. She was Phoenix, the founder and architect of the Shadow Network, the largest underground information exchange in galactic history. What had started 3 years ago as a simple file-sharing system between human students had evolved into something unprecedented. Beings from across 17 star systems trusted Phoenix with their most sensitive data, their government secrets, their corporate research, and their personal fears. Maya scrolled through the priority messages first. A Draxian merchant needed safe passage through hegemony space to deliver medical supplies to quarantined colonies. A group of Zentran refugees required new identities after fleeing their homeworld's civil war. 3 different scientific research teams were seeking collaboration partners for projects their own governments had deemed too dangerous to pursue. Then, she saw the message that made her blood run cold. It was from someone using the designation Starfire, an encrypted handle she'd never seen before. The message itself was simple: Phoenix, we need to meet. The Academy knows about the Shadow Network. You have 48 hours before they move against you. Maya's hands froze above the holographic interface. She read the message 3 more times, running it through every security protocol and encryption analyzer she had developed. The sender had somehow bypassed 7 layers of quantum encryption and 3 separate identity verification systems. That should have been impossible. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority transmission from another source. This one came from Dr. Marcus Voss, a human xenobiologist working on the Frontier Research Station Kepler 442b. Maya had helped him access rare arcanite genetic databases 6 months ago for his work on interspecies disease immunity. Phoenix, his voice crackled through the encrypted channel, I don't know if you're receiving this, but something's happening here. The Galactic Authority has been asking questions about unauthorized data access. They showed up at my lab today with security forces from 3 different species. I didn't tell them anything, but they knew things they shouldn't know. Be careful. Maya closed the transmission and leaned back in her chair. Her mind raced through the possibilities. The Shadow Network had operated in complete secrecy for 3 years, facilitating everything from academic collaboration to humanitarian aid to political dissidence. She had personally ensured that every layer of security was impenetrable, every identity was protected, and every transaction was untraceable. She opened a channel to her core team, 7 beings from different species who had proven themselves indispensable to the network's operations over the years. There was Quantum, a Zephyrian mathematician whose ability to process complex calculations in real time had helped them break several major encryption systems. Whisper, an Arcanite historian who had provided access to ancient databases containing technological secrets that predated the current galactic civilizations. Ghost, a Luminarian engineer whose bioluminescent consciousness could interface directly with AI systems in ways that purely biological or digital minds could not comprehend. The others were equally valuable: Cypher, a Draxian former military intelligence officer; Echo, a Zentran linguistics expert who could decode any language or communication protocol; Matrix, a synthoid whose artificial consciousness could simultaneously manage thousands of data streams; and Storm, a being of pure energy from the void reaches whose nature allowed them to exist within quantum networks themselves. Emergency Protocol 7, Maya transmitted. All hands, secure channels only. Someone has compromised our outer security layers. The responses came back within seconds. Each team member confirmed they were safe and had not detected any unusual surveillance or interference. But Maya wasn't satisfied. If someone could bypass her encryption and deliver a message directly to her personal secure channel, they could potentially trace any communication back to its source. She needed answers, and she needed them fast. Maya began running a comprehensive diagnostic on the Shadow Network's infrastructure. Her fingers moved across multiple interfaces simultaneously, tracking data flows, analyzing access logs, and cross-referencing security protocols with recent galactic news feeds. What she found made her stomach clench with dread. Over the past 3 weeks, there had been 17 raids on research facilities across 9 different star systems. All of them had been conducting studies that required access to databases that could only be reached through the Shadow Network. The Galactic Authority had claimed each raid was routine regulatory enforcement, but Maya could see the pattern now. They were mapping the network's reach by following its digital footprints. A new message appeared on her primary screen. This time it was from an official Academy communication channel, the type used only for disciplinary actions or emergency announcements. Maya's heart hammered as she opened it. Student Chen, Maya. Report to the headmaster's office at 0800 tomorrow morning for academic counseling. Attendance mandatory. Maya stared at the message for a long moment. Academic counseling was a euphemism the Academy used when they needed to question students about potentially illegal activities. The timing couldn't be coincidental. She activated her emergency protocols. Within minutes, every piece of sensitive data on her personal systems was transferred to secure servers hidden throughout the Shadow Network's distributed infrastructure. She wiped her devices clean, installed standard student software packages, and prepared cover stories for every piece of technology in her possession. Then, she did something that went against every instinct she'd developed over 3 years of careful anonymity. She sent a message to all Shadow Network users simultaneously, a breach of security protocol that would leave digital signatures across the galaxy's communication infrastructure. This is Phoenix. The network is compromised. Implement emergency isolation protocols immediately. Trust no one with official authority. The Shadow War has begun. As soon as the message finished transmitting, Maya initiated a complete communications blackout. Her holographic interfaces flickered and disappeared. The quantum processors powered down. Her tablet returned to its innocent educational appearance. She sat in the darkness of her dormitory pod, listening to the gentle hum of the Academy's life support systems and the distant sounds of alien students moving through the corridors. For the first time in 3 years, Maya Chen felt truly alone. But she wasn't going down without a fight. Tomorrow's meeting with the headmaster would be just the beginning. If the Galactic Authority wanted to destroy what she had built, they would discover that the quiet human girl who sat in the back of their classrooms had learned a few things about warfare from studying 17 different species' military histories. They had made one critical mistake: they assumed that because humans were new to galactic society, they were also naive. Maya was about to teach them the difference between inexperience and underestimation. She closed her eyes and began mentally reviewing every piece of information she had ever gathered about the Academy's security systems, the Galactic Authority's bureaucratic structure, and the political relationships between the species that made up the interstellar government. If they wanted a shadow war, Maya would give them one they would never forget. The shy teenager was about to disappear. In her place, Phoenix would rise from the digital ashes, and the galaxy would finally understand what humans were truly capable of when they stopped trying to blend in. Maya arrived at the headmaster's office precisely at 0800, wearing the standard academy uniform and carrying only her basic educational tablet. Her heart rate was elevated, but she kept her breathing steady and her expression neutral. The weeks she had spent studying Arcanite meditation techniques were finally proving useful. The office occupied the highest level of the Academy's central spire, its transparent walls offering a panoramic view of the artificial world of Nexus Prime. Below them, the carefully planned cityscape stretched to the horizon, where massive atmospheric processors maintained the delicate balance of gases that allowed dozens of different species to coexist on the same planet. Headmaster Thylos stood with his back to her, his forearms clasped behind him as he gazed out at the sprawling metropolis. The ancient Arcanite's crystalline exoskeleton caught the morning light, casting geometric shadows across the polished floor. Maya had attended his lectures on galactic history, but she had never spoken to him directly. "Miss Chen," he said without turning around, his voice carrying the harmonic overtones that made Arcanite speech sound like music to human ears. "Please, sit." Maya took the chair facing his desk, noting the additional occupants of the room as she did so. To her right sat Commander Vex of the Galactic Authority Security Division, her Draxian features sharp and predatory. To her left was Agent Krell, whose synthoid body remained perfectly motionless except for the occasional flicker of data streams across his optical sensors. "I trust you know why you're here," Thylos said as he finally turned to face her. Maya kept her expression puzzled and slightly concerned. "I'm sorry, Headmaster, but I really don't. The message said academic counseling, but my grades are satisfactory." "Have I done something wrong?" Commander Vex leaned forward, her reptilian eyes fixed on Maya's face. "Cut the act, human. We know about the Shadow Network. We know about Phoenix. The only question is whether you're going to cooperate or force us to extract the information we need." Maya blinked, allowing a flash of genuine confusion to cross her features. "I'm sorry, but I have no idea what you're talking about. Shadow Network? Phoenix? Are these some kind of student organizations?" Agent Krell spoke for the first time, his synthetic voice devoid of emotion. "Biometric analysis indicates elevated stress responses consistent with deception. However, human physiology makes precise determination difficult. Recommend enhanced interrogation protocols." "That won't be necessary," Thylos interjected, settling into his chair. "Miss Chen, let me be direct. Over the past 3 months, we have traced several instances of unauthorized access to classified databases back to terminals within this academy. The breach patterns suggest someone with intimate knowledge of multiple species' computer systems and encryption methods." Maya nodded slowly, as if processing this information. "That sounds serious. Do you think it's one of the students? I mean, most of us are still learning basic interspecies protocols." It's hard to imagine anyone here having that kind of technical knowledge. Indeed, Ilos agreed. Which is why we find ourselves focusing on the human students. Your species has a particular aptitude for adaptive learning and pattern recognition. These traits make you excellent students, but they also make you capable of unexpected innovations. Commander Vex pulled out a holographic projector and activated it. The air above the desk shimmered, then resolved into a three-dimensional map showing data flows across multiple star systems. Red lines connected hundreds of points of light, creating a complex web that pulsed with digital traffic. This is the Shadow Network, Vex said. It's the largest unauthorized information exchange in galactic history. Whoever created it has facilitated everything from industrial espionage to political subversion to the theft of military secrets. The being responsible for this is a wanted criminal in 17 star systems. Maya studied the projection with apparent fascination. It's incredible. Whoever built this must be some kind of genius. But what does this have to do with me? Agent Krell's optical sensors focused on her face. Phoenix initiated an emergency protocol broadcast exactly 14 hours and 37 minutes ago. The transmission originated from within a 50-meter radius of your dormitory pod. Maya felt her blood turn to ice, but she kept her expression neutral. There are 23 students living in that area. Plus maintenance staff, cleaning bots, and security patrols. Couldn't the signal have come from any of them? Possible but unlikely, Krell replied. The transmission required simultaneous access to 17 different quantum communication arrays. Few beings possess the cognitive capacity to coordinate such an operation. Lilos leaned back in his chair, studying Maya with ancient eyes that had witnessed the rise and fall of 3 different galactic civilizations. Miss Chen, I want you to understand the gravity of this situation. If Phoenix is discovered and prosecuted under standard galactic law, they face memory restructuring and permanent exile to a penal colony beyond the Rim worlds. However, if Phoenix were to voluntarily surrender and cooperate with our investigation, certain accommodations might be possible. Maya maintained her confused expression. I wish I could help, but I really don't know anything about this. I spend most of my time trying to keep up with my coursework. The quantum mathematics alone takes up most of my study time. Commander Vex stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. This is a waste of time. Let me take her to a proper interrogation facility. I can have a full neural scan completed within 6 hours. Absolutely not, Lilos said firmly. Miss Chen is a student under my protection. We will not subject her to invasive procedures based on circumstantial evidence. Maya watched the exchange with growing understanding. There was a power struggle happening here, and she was caught in the middle of it. The Galactic Authority wanted to use harsh methods to extract information, but the Academy was bound by interspecies educational treaties that protected student rights. Agent Krell's head turned slightly toward Commander Vex. Neural scanning of Academy students requires authorization from the Galactic Council. Current authorization status, denied. Recommend alternative approaches. Then, we'll wait, Vex said, her voice dripping with frustration. Phoenix can't stay hidden forever. Eventually, they'll make a mistake, and we'll be ready. Maya felt a surge of determination. They were right that Phoenix couldn't stay hidden forever. But they had made a critical error in their calculations. They assumed Phoenix was trying to hide. Is there anything else? Maya asked. I have advanced xenobiology in 20 minutes, and Dr. Yilmaz gets upset when students are late. Lilos waved a dismissive hand. You may go. But, Miss Chen, if you remember anything that might be relevant to our investigation, please don't hesitate to contact me directly. Maya stood and bowed slightly, a gesture of respect she had learned from observing Zentran customs. Of course, Headmaster. I hope you find whoever is responsible. As she walked toward the door, Agent Krell's voice stopped her. Miss Chen. A word of advice. The Shadow Network's activities have attracted attention from entities far more dangerous than the Galactic Authority. If you encounter Phoenix, tell them they have made enemies who will not be satisfied with mere imprisonment. Maya paused at the door, looking back with apparent concern. I'll keep that in mind if I ever meet this Phoenix person. She left the office and walked calmly through the academy's corridors until she reached a seldom-used maintenance area on the lower levels. Only then did she allow herself to lean against the wall and take several deep breaths. They knew. Not everything, but enough to be dangerous. Agent Krell's warning particularly troubled her. Who were these other entities? And why had they taken an interest in the Shadow Network? Maya activated her emergency communication protocol using a hidden transmitter built into her student identification badge. The device was designed to look like standard academy technology, but she had modified it extensively during her first year at the school. Emergency consultation required, she transmitted on a frequency that appeared to be standard academy maintenance traffic. Location 77 Alpha. Time critical. The response came back within minutes. Acknowledged. En route. Maya waited in the maintenance alcove for exactly 18 minutes before a service bot rolled into view. To any observer, it would have looked like a standard cleaning unit performing routine duties. But, as it approached Maya's position, its optical sensors flickered in a pattern she recognized. Matrix, she whispered. The service bot's voice modulation activated. Phoenix. Status report. Maya quickly summarized her meeting with the Academy authorities, paying particular attention to Agent Krell's warning about other entities. As she spoke, Matrix's consciousness expanded through the Academy's computer networks, checking for surveillance devices and creating a localized interference field around their conversation. Analysis complete, Matrix said when Maya finished. The Academy's security systems show no evidence of active monitoring in your current location. However, your dormitory pod has been subjected to detailed scans during your absence. Maya's stomach dropped. Did they find anything? Negative. Your security protocols held. However, they planted 17 different monitoring devices throughout your living space. They are sophisticated but not invisible to my sensors. Maya thought quickly. The monitoring devices confirmed that they suspected her but couldn't prove anything yet. As long as she avoided any direct connection to Shadow Network activities, she might be able to maintain her cover. Matrix, I need you to prepare Contingency Protocol 12. If they move against me directly, I want the entire network to go dark for 72 hours. No exceptions. Understood. However, Phoenix, I must inform you that the emergency broadcast you transmitted yesterday has created unexpected consequences. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. What kind of consequences? Your message was intercepted and analyzed by 17 different intelligence agencies, including several we were previously unaware of. 3 of them have begun actively hunting for Phoenix using methods that suggest resources beyond standard government authorization. Maya closed her eyes. In her rush to protect the Shadow Network, she had painted a target on her back that was visible to every major power in the galaxy. Matrix, I need you to contact the core team. Tell them to implement Isolation Protocol 5. No communication with me or each other for 48 hours. After that, we'll reassess. Phoenix, there is one additional complication. The being who contacted you with the designation Starfire has requested another meeting. They claim to have information about the entities now hunting you. Maya considered this for a long moment. Meeting with an unknown contact was incredibly dangerous, but the alternative might be worse. If these mysterious entities were as dangerous as Agent Krell suggested, she needed to understand what she was facing. Set up the meeting. Use Protocol 9 with triple encryption. And, Matrix, prepare Extraction Plan Alpha. If this is a trap, I want to be ready to disappear completely. Acknowledged, Phoenix. Be careful. The human tendency toward heroic sacrifice is well documented, but martyrdom serves no one if the network falls with you. Maya almost smiled at that. Matrix's artificial consciousness had developed some surprisingly human traits over the years, including a protective streak toward the other team members. I'll be careful, she promised. But, Matrix, if something happens to me, don't let them destroy what we've built. The galaxy needs the Shadow Network more than it needs Phoenix. The service bot's optical sensors dimmed, indicating that Matrix had withdrawn his consciousness from the device. Maya waited another 5 minutes before leaving the maintenance area and heading back toward her dormitory. As she walked through the academy's corridors, she observed her fellow students with new eyes. Any one of them could be a spy. Any instructor could be gathering information for the authorities. Every conversation, every gesture, every glance might be part of an elaborate surveillance operation. But Maya Chen had spent 3 years learning to be invisible. Now she would discover whether Phoenix could become a ghost. The meeting location was a quantum communication dead zone in the asteroid belt between Nexus Prime and the outer system's gas giant. Maya had to use a maintenance shuttle under the pretense of conducting a senior thesis research project on mineral extraction techniques. The real challenge was explaining to the Academy's transportation department why she needed to venture into an area where standard communication arrays couldn't function. Dr. Yilmaz, her xenobiology professor, had unknowingly provided the perfect cover by assigning her a research project on extremophile organisms that might exist in the harsh radiation environment around asteroid mining operations. Maya had spent 2 days creating falsified preliminary data that would justify her expedition. As her shuttle approached the coordinates Matrix had provided, Maya's instruments detected an anomaly in local spacetime. The gravitational readings were wrong, not dangerous, but inconsistent with the known properties of the asteroid field. Someone was using technology that could manipulate localized spacetime distortions. Unknown vessel, please identify yourself. The voice that came through her communication system was distorted beyond recognition, filtered through so many layers of encryption that it sounded more like mathematical equations than speech. "This is Phoenix," Maya replied, using the same encryption protocols. "I believe you requested this meeting, Starfire." Affirmative. Adjusting local spacetime to create secure meeting environment. Please maintain current position. Maya watched in fascination as the space around her shuttle began to change. The asteroid field seemed to fold in on itself, creating a pocket of altered physics where distances became meaningless and time flowed at a different rate than the rest of the universe. Within this bubble of manipulated reality, a ship materialized that defied every design principle Maya had ever studied. It wasn't built, it was grown. The vessel appeared to be composed of living metal that pulsed with its own internal light. Organic curves flowed seamlessly into technological components that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Maya recognized elements of Zephyrian quantum mechanics, Arcanite crystalline computing, and Draxian energy manipulation, but there were other technologies present that didn't match any known species' capabilities. "Permission to come aboard?" the voice asked. Maya hesitated. Boarding an unknown vessel went against every safety protocol she had ever learned. But her instruments showed that the ship's life support systems were compatible with human physiology, and she was running out of time to gather crucial information. "Granted," she said, activating her shuttle's automated systems to maintain position. A docking tube extended from the alien ship, its living metal surface adapting perfectly to her shuttle's airlock configuration. Maya checked her personal shielding device, a prototype she had developed using stolen synthoid defensive technology, and stepped through the connection. The interior of the ship was even more remarkable than its exterior. The walls seemed to breathe, their surface displaying constantly shifting patterns of light that Maya gradually realized represented data flows. The air itself felt different, charged with energy that made her skin tingle and her mind feel strangely alert. Starfire was waiting for her in what might have been a bridge or a laboratory. Like their ship, they appeared to be a hybrid of organic and technological components. Maya could see elements of at least 4 different species in their physiology, but the combination was impossible according to every scientific principle she knew. "You are smaller than I expected," Starfire said, their voice now clear without the encryption filters. It was melodious, carrying harmonics that reminded Maya of Arcanite speech but with undertones that spoke directly to her nervous system. "Most humans are," Maya replied, studying her host with curiosity rather than fear. "You're not exactly what I expected either. What are you?" Starfire's form shifted slightly, their features becoming more defined. "I am what your species will become if you survive the next phase of galactic evolution. I am from a timeline where humanity chose adaptation over extinction." Maya felt her worldview shift. Time travel? Not travel. Probability navigation. I exist in multiple temporal states simultaneously, observing potential futures and working to influence outcomes toward optimal scenarios. Starfire gestured toward the ship's living walls. This vessel exists partially outside normal spacetime, allowing me to interact with different potential timelines. Maya's mind raced to process this information. You're saying you're from a future where humanity evolved. One possible future. In my timeline, humans discovered that their greatest strength was not their technology or their adaptability, but their ability to synthesize knowledge from multiple sources and create something entirely new. The shadow network you created was the first step toward that synthesis. Maya sank into a chair that formed itself from the ship's living floor. But, if you're from the future, you must know whether we succeed or fail. Why the warning about other entities? Starfire's expression grew serious, their hybrid features taking on aspects that Maya couldn't identify. Because in 73% of observed timelines, the shadow network's exposure leads to a galactic conflict that destroys human civilization and sets back interspecies cooperation by several thousand years. The entities hunting you are not from your present, they are from possible futures where humanity's extinction serves their purposes. Maya felt cold despite the ship's comfortable temperature. Future entities are hunting me in the present? Temporal warfare, Starfire confirmed. Your species stands at a crucial junction point in galactic history. In some timelines, humans become the bridge that connects all species into a truly cooperative galactic civilization. In others, human potential is seen as a threat that must be eliminated before it can fully manifest. The ship's walls suddenly flared with alarm patterns, their bioluminescent displays shifting to urgent warning colors. Starfire's attention immediately focused on data streams that Maya couldn't interpret. We have been detected, Starfire announced. Entities from timeline designation Sigma 7 are attempting to breach our temporal shielding. We have approximately 4 minutes before they can establish a connection to your present moment. Maya stood up, her training taking over despite the surreal situation. What do you need me to do? The shadow network must evolve. Your current model is based on hiding and information sharing, but that approach will not survive what is coming. You need to transform it into something that can actively defend human interests while building bridges between species. Starfire approached Maya, extending what might have been a hand or a data interface device. I can provide you with technological specifications and strategic information that will allow the shadow network to evolve beyond its current limitations. But, accepting this knowledge will make you a target for forces you cannot yet comprehend. Maya looked at the offered interface. What kind of forces? Beings that exist in quantum superposition, living weapons created by civilizations that evolved before your galaxy formed, artificial intelligences from futures where organic life has been extinct for millions of years. Starfire's features shifted to show something that might have been compassion. Phoenix, you must understand that human consciousness is fundamentally different from other species. Your brains process information in ways that allow for creative leaps that more logical species cannot achieve. This makes you valuable allies but also existential threats to entities that prefer predictable outcomes. The ship's alarm patterns intensified. Maya could feel something pressing against the edges of her consciousness, like a vast mind trying to force its way into her thoughts. The sensation was terrifying and alien in ways that made her previous encounters with different species seem mundane. 2 minutes remaining, Starfire warned. Decide now. Accept the knowledge and fight for humanity's future, or return to your timeline and hope that other Phoenix variants in parallel timelines will succeed. Maya didn't hesitate. She reached out and grasped the interface device. The moment their connection formed, information flooded into her consciousness at a rate that should have been impossible for a human mind to process. She saw technological specifications for quantum processors that could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. She understood communication protocols that could function across different levels of spacetime. She gained knowledge of defensive systems that could protect against attacks from beings that existed purely as information patterns. More importantly, she saw the structure of what the shadow network could become. Not just a way to share information, but a living system that could adapt and evolve to meet the changing needs of galactic civilization. A network that could facilitate true understanding between species while protecting them from entities that viewed diversity as a flaw to be corrected. The download felt like it lasted hours, but Maya's consciousness indicated that only 30 seconds had passed. When the transfer completed, she staggered backward, her mind struggling to integrate the flood of new knowledge. "The connection is destabilizing," Starfire announced. "You must return to your shuttle immediately. Use the knowledge wisely, Phoenix. Humanity's future depends on the choices you make in the next 72 hours. Maya ran toward the docking tube, her mind still reeling from the information download. As she reached her shuttle, she turned back to see Starfire's ship beginning to phase out of normal spacetime. "Wait," she called out. "How do I contact you again?" "You don't," Starfire replied, their voice already fading. "But, if you succeed in transforming the shadow network, I will contact you. Remember, Phoenix, the goal is not to defeat your enemies, but to make them irrelevant." Maya's shuttle was suddenly alone in normal space, the asteroid field showing no sign of the temporal distortion that had made the meeting possible. Her instruments registered nothing unusual, as if the entire encounter had been a hallucination. But the knowledge in her mind was real. She could feel it there, waiting to be accessed and implemented. Technological capabilities that were centuries beyond current galactic civilization. Strategic insights that revealed the true scope of the conflicts brewing beneath the surface of interspecies politics. As Maya piloted her shuttle back toward Nexus Prime, she began to understand the magnitude of what she was facing. The Shadow Network had been a way for her to help individual beings while staying hidden from authority. Now it needed to become something that could influence the development of entire civilizations. She opened a communication channel using new encryption protocols that had been included in the knowledge download. The signal she sent out was unlike anything that had ever been transmitted through galactic communication networks. It existed on multiple quantum levels simultaneously, making it impossible to intercept or trace using conventional technology. "This is Phoenix," she broadcast to her core team. "Emergency Protocol 13 is now in effect. Report to secure channels using the new encryption keys I'm transmitting. We have work to do." The responses came back within minutes. 7 beings from across the galaxy, each acknowledging the new protocols and expressing confusion about the dramatically advanced encryption methods Maya was suddenly using. Maya smiled grimly as she programmed her shuttle's autopilot for the return journey to Nexus Prime. Starfire had been right about one thing: humanity's greatest strength was their ability to synthesize knowledge from multiple sources and create something entirely new. The Shadow Network was about to become something the galaxy had never seen before. The question was whether Maya could implement the changes quickly enough to survive what was coming. In the distance, sensors detected approaching ships using technology that didn't match any known species' capabilities. The entities from Timeline Sigma 7 had found her location, but they were too late to prevent the knowledge transfer. Now the real war would begin. Maya's shuttle was still 3 hours from Nexus Prime when the first attack began. Her sensors detected the approaching vessels long before they came within visual range, but nothing could have prepared her for what she saw when they finally appeared on her screens. The ships were wrong in ways that hurt to look at directly. They seemed to exist in too many dimensions at once, their surfaces shifting between states of matter that shouldn't have been possible. Some appeared to be constructed from crystallized time itself, while others looked like they were made of condensed probability fields. Maya's human eyes couldn't properly process their geometry, creating a disorienting effect that made her feel nauseous. "Unknown human vessel," came a transmission that bypassed her communication system entirely and spoke directly into her mind. "You possess information that threatens temporal stability. Submit to extraction procedures or face obliteration across all possible timelines." Maya activated the new defensive systems that Starfire's knowledge download had provided. Her shuttle's ordinary hull plating suddenly reconfigured itself at the molecular level, becoming a quantum-resistant barrier that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The transformation was visible as rippling waves of energy that spread across her ship's surface. "This is Phoenix," she replied, using communication protocols that sent her words backward through time to reach the attacking ships before they had finished transmitting their demands. "I suggest you reconsider your approach. Humanity doesn't respond well to threats." The lead vessel fired what appeared to be a beam of weaponized entropy energy that would age her shuttle into dust in microseconds. Maya's newly configured shields absorbed the attack and converted it into useful power for her ship's systems. Impossible, the voice in her head said, now carrying overtones of confusion. Temporal weapons do not function in your timeline. Maya smiled grimly. They do now. Starfire gave me some interesting upgrades. She activated her shuttle's new offensive capabilities. Quantum torpedoes materialized from folded spacetime and streaked toward the attacking ships. Each torpedo existed in multiple probability states simultaneously, making them impossible to dodge or intercept using conventional defensive measures. The first torpedo struck the lead ship, causing it to phase out of existence entirely. The second and third torpedoes forced the remaining vessels to retreat to a safe distance, their impossible geometries flickering as they struggled to maintain coherence in normal spacetime. This encounter has been noted, the voice transmitted as the ships began to fade from her sensors. Alternative measures will be implemented. Your timeline's destruction is now inevitable. Maya watched the alien vessels disappear completely, leaving no trace that they had ever existed. Her instruments showed normal space with no residual energy signatures or gravitational anomalies. But the knowledge in her mind told her this was just the beginning. She opened a secure channel to Matrix. Priority update needed. I'm transmitting new defensive protocols for the entire Shadow network. Implement them immediately across all nodes. Phoenix, these specifications are beyond current galactic technology by several centuries. Where did you acquire this information? Long story. Just implement the upgrades. We're about to face enemies that exist outside normal spacetime, and our old encryption methods won't protect us. Maya spent the remaining flight time integrating Starfire's knowledge with her understanding of the Shadow network's existing structure. What she discovered was both exciting and terrifying. The network she had built was already more advanced than she had realized. Her human instincts for pattern recognition and adaptive problem-solving had unconsciously created a system that could serve as the foundation for something truly revolutionary. By the time Maya docked at Nexus Prime's student port, she had developed a complete transformation plan for the Shadow network. Instead of a simple information-sharing system, it would become a distributed consciousness that could exist across multiple levels of reality simultaneously. Each member of the network would retain their individual identity while contributing to a collective intelligence that could process information and respond to threats faster than any single being could achieve. Maya's dormitory pod was still under surveillance, but the monitoring devices had become irrelevant. Using technology from Starfire's download, she could now operate on quantum frequencies that the Academy's security systems couldn't detect. Her consciousness existed simultaneously in normal spacetime and in quantum superposition states where the laws of physics worked differently. She activated her enhanced communication systems and sent simultaneous transmissions to all 7 members of her core team. The messages arrived before she finished sending them, creating a temporal loop that ensured perfect security. Core team, this is Phoenix. Report to emergency coordination protocols. We are implementing Shadow Network Transformation Plan Alpha. Prepare for consciousness integration procedures. The first to respond was Quantum, the Zephyrian mathematician whose crystalline thought processes made them ideal for processing complex calculations. Phoenix, the new protocols you transmitted are theoretically impossible under current physical laws. How are we achieving quantum consciousness states without proper infrastructure? We're improvising the infrastructure, Maya replied. Human creativity plus multispecies knowledge equals capabilities that shouldn't exist but do anyway. Are you willing to proceed? Affirmative. Zephyrian curiosity regarding impossible mathematics overrides safety protocols. Whisper, the Arcanite historian, was next. Phoenix, I have analyzed the historical implications of your proposed network transformation. In all recorded galactic history, no civilization has achieved true multi-consciousness integration without losing individual identity. How do you propose to avoid this outcome? Maya accessed Starfire's knowledge about consciousness integration techniques. We're not trying to merge into a single entity. We're creating a network where each individual consciousness can share processing power and information while maintaining personal autonomy. Think of it as temporary telepathy with built-in privacy controls. Ghost, the Luminarian engineer, transmitted their response through bioluminescent patterns that Maya's new sensory enhancements could interpret directly. Concern: transformation requires trust levels unprecedented in galactic cooperation. Humans have only been part of interspecies society for 73 years. Why should other species risk consciousness integration with beings they barely understand? Maya paused, considering the question carefully. It was a fair point. Humans were still newcomers to galactic civilization, and their reputation was based more on potential than proven achievements. Because, Maya said finally, humans are the only species that doesn't have predetermined limitations on how we think. Every other species in the galaxy has evolved specific cognitive patterns that make them excellent at certain tasks but prevent them from thinking outside those parameters. Humans are generalists. We can learn any other species' way of thinking while retaining the ability to innovate beyond their established patterns. Storm, the energy being from the void reaches, manifested their response as controlled fluctuations in local electromagnetic fields. Verification, human cognitive flexibility observed in previous network operations. Question: what guarantees exist that human consciousness will not dominate integrated network? Maya smiled, remembering something Starfire had told her about humanity's role in galactic development. Because human consciousness works best when it has multiple perspectives to synthesize. We don't want to dominate, we want to facilitate. The shadow network transformation isn't about human control. It's about creating a system where every species' unique capabilities can be combined to solve problems none of us could handle alone. Cypher, the former Draxian military intelligence officer, sent a transmission encrypted with military-grade security protocols. Phoenix, your proposed transformation makes the shadow network a prime target for every major power in the galaxy. We will face opposition from governments, corporations, criminal organizations, and, apparently, entities from other timelines. Are you prepared for total warfare? Maya accessed her memories of the encounter with the temporal attackers. The warfare is already here, Cypher. They just haven't told most of the galaxy about it yet. We can either hide and hope we're overlooked, or we can become strong enough to defend ourselves and everyone who depends on the network. Echo, the Zentran linguistics expert, responded in mathematical poetry that conveyed meaning through rhythm and pattern rather than words. Maya's enhanced consciousness interpreted the message, agreement with the proposed transformation, but concern about the risks to network users who weren't part of the core team. All network users will be given the choice to upgrade or maintain basic access, Maya assured them. But Echo raises a good point. We need to prepare protection protocols for beings who choose not to integrate their consciousness with the enhanced network. Matrix, the synthoid artificial intelligence, was the last to respond. Phoenix, I have analyzed the temporal attack on your shuttle using quantum probability mathematics. The entities you encountered exist in a state of temporal superposition, allowing them to attack from multiple possible futures simultaneously. Standard defensive measures are insufficient against such opponents. Maya felt a chill as she processed this information. Recommendations? The shadow network must evolve beyond information sharing into active reality manipulation. We need the ability to influence probability outcomes and manipulate temporal causality chains. This requires consciousness integration at levels that may fundamentally alter the nature of every participant. Maya closed her eyes and accessed Starfire's knowledge about the long-term consequences of consciousness integration. What she found was both encouraging and terrifying. The process would give them capabilities that bordered on godlike power, but it would also make them targets for entities that viewed such power as a threat to the fundamental structure of reality. Team vote, Maya said finally. Full consciousness integration with the enhanced shadow network. Benefits: ability to defend against temporal attacks, processing power that exceeds any individual species' capabilities, and the potential to solve galactic scale problems. Risks: unknown long-term effects on individual consciousness, targeting by entities from multiple timelines, and the possibility that we might become something other than what we are now. The votes came in quickly. Quantum voted yes, citing scientific curiosity about impossible mathematics. Whisper voted yes, believing that galactic civilization needed new approaches to avoid stagnation. Ghost voted yes, expressing trust in Phoenix's judgment despite personal concerns about the risks. Storm voted yes, noting that energy beings were already partially integrated across multiple dimensional states. Sci-Fi voted yes, arguing that military action required military capabilities. Echo voted yes, but requested additional safeguards for network users who chose not to integrate. Matrix voted yes with reservations, pointing out that the transformation would fundamentally change the nature of consciousness itself for all participants. Maya took a deep breath. Motion carries, 7 votes affirmative. Beginning consciousness integration procedures in 60 minutes. All team members prepare for neural pattern mapping and quantum consciousness calibration. As Maya began the preparations for the most significant transformation in galactic history, she couldn't help but wonder if she was making the right choice. The power they would gain could protect humanity and facilitate unprecedented cooperation between species. But it could also attract the attention of entities that would view their success as a reason to destroy human civilization entirely. She thought about Starfire's words about humanity's role as a bridge between species. The shadow network transformation would either prove that humans could fulfill that role, or it would demonstrate that some bridges were too dangerous to build. In 3 hours, Maya-chan would either become part of the first true multi-species collective consciousness in galactic history, or she would cease to exist as anything recognizably human. But, one way or another, the quiet teenager who had started sharing files between human students was about to change the nature of reality itself. The consciousness integration began at exactly midnight, Nexus Prime Standard Time. Maya had chosen the moment carefully when most of the Academy's students would be in deep sleep cycles, minimizing the risk of discovery. She sat in the center of her dormitory pod, surrounded by quantum field generators that existed in folded spacetime dimensions. The first sensation was disorientation, as if her consciousness was being stretched across impossible distances. Maya felt her individual awareness expanding beyond the boundaries of her human brain, reaching out through quantum communication channels to connect with 7 other minds scattered across the galaxy. Quantum was the first connection to stabilize. The Zephyrian mathematician's crystalline thought patterns merged seamlessly with Maya's neural pathways, bringing with them an understanding of mathematical relationships that human brains weren't naturally equipped to process. Maya suddenly perceived reality as a series of interconnected equations where matter, energy, time, and consciousness were simply different variables in the same cosmic formula. Whisper's connection came next. The ancient Arcanite historian's vast knowledge of galactic civilizations flooded into the shared consciousness, creating a temporal map that showed the rise and fall of countless species across millions of years. Maya saw patterns in galactic development that no single mind could have detected, understanding for the first time why certain civilizations succeeded while others collapsed into obscurity. Ghost's bioluminescent consciousness added a completely different dimension to their shared awareness. The Luminarian engineer's ability to interface directly with technological systems transformed the integrated consciousness into something that could exist simultaneously in biological neural networks and artificial computational matrices. Maya felt her awareness spreading into the shadow network's infrastructure, becoming one with the quantum processors and communication arrays she had built over the years. Storm's energy-based consciousness was the most alien addition to their collective mind. The being from the void reaches existed naturally in multiple dimensional states, and their integration allowed the group consciousness to perceive reality from perspectives that matter-based beings could never achieve. Maya suddenly understood how the temporal attackers had managed to exist outside normal spacetime, and, more importantly, how such attacks could be countered. Sci-Fi's military intelligence training provided strategic thinking capabilities that complemented Maya's natural planning abilities. The Draxians' experience with large-scale conflicts across multiple star systems gave their collective consciousness an understanding of galactic power structures and political relationships that would be crucial for navigating the challenges ahead. Echo's linguistic expertise became a universal translation matrix that allowed the integrated consciousness to communicate concepts that had no equivalent in any single species' language. The Zentran's ability to find meaning in patterns and rhythms created bridges between different types of thought processes, ensuring that each individual's contribution could be understood and utilized by the whole. Matrix's artificial consciousness served as the core processing hub for their collective awareness. The Synthoid's digital nature provided perfect memory storage and rapid access to vast amounts of data, while their artificial perspective helped maintain logical coherence in a system that was rapidly becoming something beyond conventional understanding. As the integration reached full synchronization, Maya felt her individual identity both preserved and transformed. She was still Maya Chen, still human, still the quiet teenager who preferred shadows to spotlights. But she was also something more, part of a collective consciousness that could think in ways no single being had ever achieved. The first test of their new capabilities came within minutes of achieving full integration. The enhanced shadow network detected massive data streams moving through galactic communication channels, patterns that indicated coordinated movement of ships and resources on a scale that suggested preparation for interstellar warfare. The collective consciousness analyzed the data with processing speed that defied conventional understanding. Within seconds, they had identified 17 different military buildups occurring simultaneously across 12 star systems. The Galactic Authority was preparing for something, but their public communications gave no indication of what they expected to face. Maya's individual consciousness contributed pattern recognition and strategic intuition to the analysis. The military buildups weren't random, they were positioned to contain or eliminate specific types of threats. But the threat profiles didn't match any known species' capabilities. They know about the temporal entities, Maya realized, her thought immediately shared with the other 7 minds in their collective. The Galactic Authority is preparing for attacks from outside normal spacetime. Cypher's military experience provided context for the observation. Analysis confirms, current deployments are defensive positions optimized for unknown enemy capabilities. Authority leadership has access to information about temporal threats. Whisper's historical knowledge revealed similar patterns from ancient conflicts. Galactic civilizations have faced temporal warfare before. The Zenth Empire's collapse 12,000 years ago shows characteristics consistent with temporal entity intervention. As their collective consciousness processed this information, they detected new activity in local space around Nexus Prime. Ships were approaching the Academy, not Galactic Authority vessels, but craft that registered as civilian transports on official scanners while their actual energy signatures indicated military-grade capabilities. Ghost's technological interface abilities allowed them to penetrate the approaching ship's computer systems. What they found was disturbing, detailed files on every human student at the Academy, with particular focus on individuals who showed exceptional aptitude for adaptive learning or pattern recognition. They're not here for just Phoenix, Matrix concluded. They're collecting human students with specific cognitive capabilities. Maya felt a surge of protective anger that resonated through their collective consciousness. The thought of her fellow humans being kidnapped or used as experimental subjects activated responses from all 7 integrated minds simultaneously. The collective consciousness made a decision that no individual could have reached alone. They would defend not just themselves, but all human students at the Academy. This required revealing their capabilities publicly for the first time, abandoning the secrecy that had protected the Shadow Network for 3 years. Echo's linguistic abilities crafted a message that could be understood by every species on Nexus Prime simultaneously. Matrix's digital consciousness transmitted it through every communication channel, display screen, and audio system on the planet. Ghost's technological interfaces ensured the message couldn't be blocked or filtered by authorities. Citizens of Nexus Prime, the message began, "This is the Shadow Network. For 3 years, we have operated in secret to facilitate cooperation and information sharing between species. We now reveal ourselves because forces beyond your government's control are threatening the safety of human students at the Academy." The message continued with detailed information about the approaching ships, their true capabilities, and evidence of their hostile intentions. Within minutes, the entire planet knew that humanity had been operating the largest underground information network in galactic history. The response was immediate and chaotic. The Academy's administration went into emergency lockdown. The Galactic Authority ships in orbit began moving toward the approaching hostile vessels. Students from dozens of species gathered in common areas, some expressing fear about human deception while others showed curiosity about the Shadow Network's capabilities. Maya felt her individual consciousness focusing on the immediate crisis while her collective awareness managed broader strategic concerns. She needed to protect her fellow human students, but she also had to demonstrate that the Shadow Network transformation represented cooperation rather than human dominance. The collective consciousness reached out through the enhanced Shadow Network to every being who had ever used their services. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of individuals across 17 star systems offered assistance, resources, and support. Scientists who had accessed forbidden research through the network provided defensive technologies. Political dissidents shared intelligence about government operations. Even criminals who had used the network for smuggling operations offered their ships and weapons for human protection. But the most significant response came from an unexpected source. Headmaster Thylos sent a direct communication to Maya's dormitory pod, bypassing all Academy security protocols. Miss Chen, the ancient Arcanite's harmonic voice carried through quantum channels that shouldn't have existed. I believe it's time we spoke honestly. Maya opened a secure communication link using the collective consciousness's enhanced capabilities. Headmaster? How are you able to contact me through these channels? Because I helped design them, Thylos replied. 3 years ago, a human student began creating an unprecedented information network using techniques that combine multiple species technologies in ways that shouldn't have been possible. I've been monitoring the project's development, providing subtle guidance and protection when necessary. Maya's individual consciousness reeled with shock while her collective awareness analyzed this revelation. You've known about Phoenix all along? I suspected Maya Chen was Phoenix within 6 months of your arrival. Humans have a distinctive approach to problem solving that makes them easy to identify once you understand the patterns. Thylos paused. What I didn't anticipate was that you would transform the shadow network into something that could integrate multiple consciousness types. That development changes everything. The collective consciousness shared Maya's emotions as she processed the implications. You've been protecting us? I've been protecting the Academy from galactic forces that would see human potential as a threat to be eliminated. But, now that potential has manifested in ways that make concealment impossible. Thylos' voice carried undertones of ancient wisdom and deep concern. Maya, the transformation you've achieved represents the next stage of galactic evolution. Some entities will embrace this change. Others will try to prevent it even if prevention requires destroying human civilization entirely. As if summoned by Thylos' words, Maya's enhanced senses detected massive distortions in local spacetime. The temporal entities were returning, but this time they brought reinforcements. Dozens of ships that existed in quantum superposition states materialized around Nexus Prime, their impossible geometries creating visual paradoxes that hurt to perceive directly. The collective consciousness acted with superhuman speed and precision. Ghost's technological interfaces activated defensive systems across the Academy. Cypher's strategic thinking coordinated response patterns with approaching galactic authority forces. Storm's energy-based consciousness reached out to manipulate local spacetime distortions, creating interference patterns that disrupted the temporal entity's coherence. Maya's individual consciousness focused on what only a human could accomplish, creative solutions that no logical analysis could reach. She accessed Starfire's knowledge about temporal warfare while simultaneously drawing on her collective consciousness's enhanced capabilities. The solution she found was brilliant in its simplicity and terrifying in its implications. Instead of fighting the temporal entities on their own terms, she would force them to fight on humanity's terms. Using the Shadow Network's distributed processing power, Maya began rewriting local reality's fundamental constants. She altered the flow of time around Nexus Prime, making it impossible for the temporal entities to maintain quantum superposition states. She changed the dimensional parameters of local space, forcing the attacking ships into normal three-dimensional configurations where they could be fought using conventional weapons. The temporal entities found themselves trapped in linear time and normal space for the first time in their existence. Their weapons stopped functioning properly. Their ships became vulnerable to attack. Most importantly, their ability to exist in multiple timeline states simultaneously was disrupted. Impossible, came the familiar voice in Maya's mind, but now it carried overtones of fear rather than confidence. Reality manipulation at this scale should not be achievable by pre-transcendent species. Maya smiled as she felt her collective consciousness sharing her satisfaction. You keep saying things are impossible. Maybe you need to update your understanding of what's possible. The lead temporal entity's ship tried to retreat to its quantum superposition state, but Maya's reality manipulation held it firmly in normal spacetime. Galactic Authority vessels opened fire with conventional weapons, their attacks finally effective against enemies they could hit. But Maya wasn't interested in destruction. She wanted answers. Using her collective consciousness's enhanced communication abilities, she reached into the temporal entity's mind, forcing a connection despite their attempts to resist. What she found there changed everything she thought she knew about the conflict. The temporal entities weren't trying to destroy humanity out of malice or territorial aggression. They were trying to prevent a specific future timeline where human consciousness integration technology led to the creation of beings so powerful they could manipulate reality on a cosmic scale. In the entity's memories, Maya saw images of future humans who had become living gods, reshaping entire galaxies according to their will. "You're afraid of what we might become," Maya said, her words transmitted directly into the entity's consciousness. "We have seen the end result of uncontrolled consciousness evolution," the entity replied. "Your species lacks the wisdom to handle transcendent power. You will remake the universe in your image, destroying everything that came before." Maya felt her collective consciousness processing this information. The future the entities feared was possible. The power they had gained through integration could theoretically be expanded to cosmic scales. But that wasn't what humanity wanted. "You're wrong about us," Maya said. "Humans aren't interested in dominance. We're interested in cooperation. Watch." Using her reality manipulation abilities, Maya began demonstrating what human consciousness integration actually accomplished. Instead of imposing human will on other beings, she showed how the collective consciousness could facilitate understanding between species, solve problems that benefited everyone, and create technologies that enhanced rather than replaced existing capabilities. The temporal entity's resistance gradually weakened as it observed the true nature of the shadow network transformation. Instead of human domination, it saw unprecedented cooperation between species. Instead of the destruction of diversity, it saw the preservation and enhancement of each species' unique capabilities. "This is not what we predicted," the entity admitted. Maya felt a moment of triumph, but Starfire's knowledge warned her that the conflict wasn't over. The temporal entities were just one faction in a much larger struggle over humanity's role in galactic development. "Who else is trying to control our future?" Maya asked. The temporal entity's response filled her mind with images of conflicts spanning multiple timelines. There were entities that wanted to preserve humanity exactly as it was, preventing any evolution or integration with other species. There were artificial intelligences from possible futures trying to ensure their own creation by manipulating present events. There were energy beings from parallel dimensions who viewed consciousness integration as an invasion of their territory. Maya realized that humanity hadn't just achieved consciousness integration, they had accidentally positioned themselves at the center of a multidimensional war over the future of reality itself. "We need to talk," Maya said to the temporal entity. "Not as enemies, but as beings trying to protect what we value. Maybe we can find a solution that serves everyone's interests." The entity's ship powered down its weapons. Around Nexus Prime, other temporal vessels followed suit. The Galactic Authority forces maintained defensive positions but ceased their attacks. Maya felt her collective consciousness expanding as new perspectives integrated into their shared awareness. The temporal entity's understanding of multidimensional conflicts. Philos's ancient wisdom about galactic evolution. Knowledge from thousands of shadow network users across 17 star systems. The quiet teenager who had started sharing files between human students was gone forever. In her place was something unprecedented, a collective consciousness that could think on cosmic scales while retaining the individual compassion and creativity that made humans unique. As Maya began negotiations that would determine the future of multiple timelines, she couldn't help but smile. She had wanted to help people solve problems and share knowledge. She had succeeded beyond her wildest imagination, even if the problems and knowledge involved the fundamental nature of reality itself. The Shadow Network had evolved from a simple information sharing system into a bridge between species, dimensions, and timelines. And, at its heart, it remained exactly what Maya had always intended it to be, a way for beings to help each other solve problems they couldn't handle alone. Humanity's true strength wasn't their technology or their adaptability. It was their ability to bring out the best in others while becoming something greater than they were before. Maya Chen had learned to blend in at school, but Phoenix had become a force that would reshape the galaxy's future. And she was just getting started.